Hi, Ivan Strongmore for Everyday Exiles, and this week I got to sit down with director Tomm Moore, who, along with his directing partner Ross Stewart, are now three-time Academy Award nominees for Best Animated Feature. First with The Secret of Kells, then Song of the Sea, and now with Wolfwalkers, that's streaming right now on Apple TV Plus. Now, the movie is all about Irish folklore and friendship, and Tom and I got to talk all about what this movie is trying to get at and exactly what his life was like growing up having moved from Northern to Southern Ireland. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you do too. Well, hey, congrats on the movie. I got to watch it this week finally.
Good.
I've been hearing about it for more than a year now, but I finally got to watch it, and
Excellent.
yeah, congrats on the nomination too, the big one. My
Yeah,
goodness.
I know. And
Uh,
it's funny because it starts to become like we were nominated for The Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea, and then Nora made a movie Breadwinner, and that got nominated too. So it went from being this amazing surprise with Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea to being afraid that you'd be the first one to not get nominated. So
right. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's probably old hat for you at this point, but like, what are sort of the unique senses of pride with this one that it got the
well,
recognition?
that's the first thing I can say. Tree for tree for the tree kind of the trilogy, and I think it's probably the best one we've done of the three, so it's lovely. And I think the team, like we have an amazing team because there's some people that have worked on everything. Where it's like the composer Bruno, some of the animators since Secret of Kells. So I've been working with them for like 15 years, but there's so many people that joined the team, and it was their first feature experience. Like our art director Maria Perea, it was her first job since out of college. So I'm just so happy for them.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm not an animator myself, but I imagine that process is just really focused and time consuming, especially in the hand drawn world, man.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so like when you're entering a project, like how did you make sure, when we're done with this is still going to be sort of timeless and relevant? Like what was important for you in that process to know, like, hey, this is going to hit whenever it comes out?
Well, themes never seem to, like, sadly, never seem to change. The themes of people like I'm originally from Northern Ireland, and because we're telling the story of a little English girl and a little Irish girl, like that continues to be relevant in Ireland, and I think all around the world, those kind of divisions where you want to see children seeing past the divisions of their family, that's always there. And then there's also, like, sadly, the other theme, which is kind of species extinction. It's also sadly continues to be relevant. But then the way we made it, like, we tried to really focus on traditional media, working with paper and pencils and paints and everything that I don't think gets old because the software is so ancient already that it kind of feels ageless.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, say more about like, what made you sit back and think like this is a story that the world needs right now. Like this is the thing that we want to spend our time on right now.
Well, that got more powerful. Like, it started very much focused on the sadness. Like, the previous movies were the same. They're all this kind of melancholy where I kind of feel that, like, Ireland and everywhere really in the world has this richness in folklore, and we're kind of forgetting it, and we're losing a bit of connection between nature and ourselves, and we're starting to treat nature like, if it doesn't have an economic value, it doesn't have any value. Whereas I think the folklore always spoke to balance, between man and nature. And so that was where I started. Ross and I, that was our starting point. But then, as the project evolved, there was themes of feminism, themes of oppression, people that were like ruling by fear, and you know, I hate to say it, but like I grew up in the 80s, and Northern Ireland was really the tension going back to the English colonization was really present, and I thought that we'd move past it, but I mean, it's still, even today, it's riots and stuff have started again. So I feel we need to talk about this, because when I was a little kid, like I remember really strongly the story I always tell is I was in a playground and I was playing with this little kid, and his brother came over and asked if I was Catholic or Protestant. And that's how I found out I was Catholic, and how I found out that there was a problem with being one or the other, and that you might not be, you know what I mean? So a story about that I think is very relevant. So
Wow, yeah. Wow, that's really fascinating. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so how do you think that you went about finding the voices, of these two young women, being You've got a
Yeah.
bunch of dudes working on the project.
Yeah.
How did you find their
Middle-aged
voices?
men. Yeah. Well, first we did a lot of the scratch with young women. Well, yeah, not that young, like women who work with us in the studio, and so we had done a lot of exploration of the characters' personalities, just with animators and friends and stuff. And so we kind of knew what we were looking for, and we put out a pretty wide net. We worked with Louise Kiley. She's a casting agent, and she usually works in live action. So she got us a lot of tapes from all over England and Ireland, and yeah, I mean the girls just stood out. And what I always say about Eva Whittaker and Honor, in particular, was that definitely Eva, like by the end, like she had never acted before, but by the second or third recording session, she was like telling us what her character would do. So I mean, that's also the way her character would behave. So I think it's good.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I think Robin's journey in the film really spoke to me the most. I like related to her on because obviously that huge theme of how we view the other and sort of our journeys to sort of reconciling and embracing the other, I think is really important.
Yeah, and not
So
forgetting that like that's been the biggest hardest theme is that we're not saying it's like United Colors of Benetton or something or a Coca Cola ad. Like there are real challenges there, but yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so and I don't think like just because I related to Robin so much, I was like, man, she really needs Maeve in this. It's like she needs her to grow. But like, how do you think that the girls actually needed each other to sort
Oh
of unlock
yeah,
different parts of each other?
that was something that Ross and I talked about early on. Like, I mean, Ross and I are buddies since we were very young, and there was a movie that we really liked because I was from Northern Ireland, and my family were quite strict and quite religious, in a Catholic kind of way, and his mum was an artist, and they were a little bit more bohemian or laid back or whatever. And there was a movie called The Son of Rambo, and it was about two little kids, and one was like a little bad kid. His parents were basically never around, so he could do whatever he wanted. And the other kid was a little bit like what my childhood was like, quite a strict kind of household. So we kind of thought that was the core of their two stories. But as it evolved, I mean, it became more and more that Maeve is trying to be strong without her mum and needs to be vulnerable and have ask for help, and that Robin really needed Maeve to show her like a mirror image of what's possible for her as a little girl, that she doesn't have to just fit in with what is expected of little girls in that society. So yeah, they kind of complete each other in a nice way.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, so you talked about this a little bit already, but I'm just wondering, like, diving into your because as I was watching this, I was like, people that are making this, they understand this, like this is something that they're familiar with. So, like, can you talk a little bit more about your experience, even just like as yourself, sort of maybe feeling like the Mabe in society, or even other people that sort of have influenced you, that maybe you had to be on that journey too, as you were seeing people
Yeah,
as the other.
yeah, that's really that's it, and that continues for the rest, like for your whole life. So when I first came down from the north of Ireland, which Ireland is a tiny island, but basically Northern Ireland is a different culture because they're really trapped in this kind of hangover from colonial days, where like a percentage of the population really want to be British, and the other percentage, uh, you know, align themselves with a nationalism that even in the south of Ireland we've kind of moved on from. So when I came down, I had to do a lot of adapting to try and fit in. I had to try and like change my accent on purpose, play down how like my parents would take me to mass every day, and a lot of that stuff that wasn't seen as quote unquote, like cool or normal or whatever amongst kids in my school. So I tended to make like very close friends rather than have a big, wide range of friends like that. And so that kind of feeling of two outsiders, like Ross and I, or any number of the other close friends I had as a kid, that really spoke to me. And the idea of kind of finding your tribe and finding your pack where you fit in, even if it's not what society kind of says would be the best, and having to that was very much me joining Young Irish Filmmakers, because I wasn't a sporty kid, and and Young Irish Filmmakers was, aside from being a really cool group for young people, it was also like some kind of refuge in the 1990s for the outsiders. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my wolf pack.
That's awesome. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, so like as you're thinking about, this this film going out in the world, and you're thinking like, man, these are the people that I really hope see this. Like
Yeah.
who comes to mind for you?
That's really interesting. I mean, I have a little granddaughter now, and she's 3 years old, and she loves these strong female characters, and she pretends to be them and everything. And when she saw Wolfwalkers, I thought she was maybe too young for it, but she watched it and she just loved Maeve, and she really related to Maeve, and she started howling and going around in all fours. And so I think about little girls like that, and that they can see this story playing out, that they have some say in their voice, because it's still a bit of a challenge, I think, for young women to go against the grain of what society says. And it's nice to offer little girls who aren't like pretty princesses, but are more, kind of a little bit more natural or spontaneous or whatever, as little role models for young girls. So I suppose those are one thing. I got a stack of drawings today because my wife teaches in a primary school, and that's so amazing to me. Like all these kids that love it so much, and they draw themselves. Look, she drew herself on the branch with
Oh,
Robin, and
wow.
so that's really special for me, that these kids are relating to it like that and imagining. A few of them drew themselves as a wolfwalker. So
Ah,
that's who it's for, really. That generation, because they're the ones that have to deal with all the division that we have, and maybe if they can see themselves in these characters, they can imagine a less divided way of relating to each other.
yeah, that's incredible, man. Jeez.
Yeah, these are so special. I love these so much.
Right.
This is Jimmy. He drew himself with wolves, and he's got all the arrows and everything. They're great. They're all like 8 years old, or 7 or 8 years
Yeah,
old.
that's still about where my art is. So I have to. This question, man. This one's just for me. I've got to ask this, right? So you guys get Sean Bean in the cast. Was there any temptation to kill his character off?
No, that's what's so funny. He was exactly who we had in mind. I mean, when we were first writing and coming up with the story, Game of Thrones was really big, and we were kind of thinking, yeah, he's kind of a Ned Stark type character. He's under the pressure of a corrupt king, but he's trying to be a good man and all. So Sean Bean was too easy to think of him, and we drew the character like that and all. But we just because it was Sean Bean, we made a point to his agent that he doesn't die, if that helps swing it in our favor.
That's incredible. Yeah, so I mean, just as you're, what are your hopes and dreams for even just like this award season, and you're talking to more people and more people are seeing it. What are you hoping for throughout this whole process?
I've never been in a position like this with like Apple TV Plus. We haven't, like, I've made two other feature films, and they were like tiny budgets and tiny distributors, and I remember like scraping together the money to take one ad in Variety or whatever, and they've just done so much. Like the marketing has just been amazing. They've got it out there, and so like we made the movie because we wanted to reach as many people as possible with the themes that we wanted to speak to, and just to inspire kids, even, and also as like it's kind of a love letter to hand drawn animation. And so I think the fact that like hand drawn animation that's about these kind of themes is being like promoted at the level of any blockbuster, that's just amazing for me, and that we're told, like, one of my heroes growing up was Glenn Keane. He's just an amazing animator, animated like, Belle and our Beast and Beauty and the Beast and all that stuff. And the fact that we're nominated alongside him, I mean, it's pretty huge.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time talking to me. Really love the movie. Congrats again on the nomination. We'll see how it goes, man. I think there's a shot. I
Who
think you got.
knows?
We'll see what happens, but yeah,
We'll give it a shot. Thanks, Simon.
wonderful job, man. Thanks so much.